Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Yvonne Priest Show. I am your hostess, Yvonne Priest, your little ray of darkness. I know it's been a minute, but I'm coming at you with something really awesome. Today, I have Australian special effects whiz Larry Van Duynhoven. Thank you so much for being on the show, mate.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much for inviting us over.
No worries at all. You've been a very busy man, so I can completely understand why it's been really hard to kind of get you on here because you have been a part of, honestly, two of my favorite horror movies that were done this year together
Yes,
and Bring Her
yeah.
Back.
Thank you. Yes, no, it's really they both really hit a mark with fans, horror fans, and even people that aren't in the horror genre that don't like horror have really reached out. Some weird people, like just like when I say about weird people, just things people you wouldn't even think of. Like I had a girl, I think from Germany, and she's a dentist, and she had to wait to the end of one of the films like Bring It Back, which we'll talk about next week. Um, yeah, had to watch and just see who did all the effects for the film, so she could reach out and say hello and say well done. So yeah, so you get some weird people, yeah, just different walks of life, which
No,
is
that,
great.
no, it's really great. I really like when you actually can get people to come into the genre and realize it's not as or like gross as
Yeah.
they think it is, that there actually is something for everyone in the genre as well, which is great. So I wanted to ask
Yeah,
your
just well, so yeah, like together. We're going to talk about together, but yeah, together hits the nerve because you got to have connection, and sometimes horror doesn't have connection. But this is a good story. It's relationship, it's longevity of relationships, and how you kind of start to morph together as one. So in a strange sense, so it's got some really cool um, um, background depth to it, and it helps people in the audience kind of connect, I think.
Oh no, it definitely does. It definitely does. Because I was actually going to ask you about this is actually a viewer question. You'd have thought I had viewers, but
Yeah.
this is a viewer question from actually a mutual friend of ours, Brody Kane,
Oh
because
yes, God.
he was actually very curious. Now, let me get the question up because I actually want to read it the way he had it. What modern horror films inspire you to become the person you are today?
um oh God, say that question again. Say
What
that again,
horror
sorry.
what horror films inspired you to become the person you
Mm,
are today? Because I can think of one that really goes
yeah.
through it together, and I want to see if that's going to be the one.
Oh look, I mean, like, I grew up with all of them, so like my favorite, one of my favorite movies is a horror, but it's not. It's kind of more of a big universal horror film that people forget it's a horror, and that's Jaws. Like that was one of my favorite of all time. Um, but there you go. Exactly, you got one there. That's cool. I still just love that film. I think the greatest horror film of all time, still, like the scariest for me, is The Exorcist. I'm a massive fan of Dick Smith, and who's the prosthetic master. Um, American Werewolf in London, anything of Rick Baker's, anything of Robertine's, The Thing, um, The Howling, all those types of films, they're just absolutely awesome. So they inspired me as a child, they scared the absolute shit out of me, and I was traumatized. I watched them way too young,
Mm, same.
but yeah, so it's kind of like those films really left a mark on me, and I don't know if films do it too much anymore. Um, yeah, I don't think so. That's why I'm actually excited to be on the show because a lot of people have reached out to me, with Together and Bring It Back, and I think for me it's kind of like it's like old school days, where they're those films actually mean something
Hmm.
to them. So yeah,
Because I could really see that there was a really like heavy thing kind of inspiration with this with the prosthetics. Like from the very
mm,
start with the dogs. As soon as I saw that, I was like, thing straight
yeah,
away. Was that really fun to kind of put those things together, like that dog? And what can I say without ruining it? People should have seen it anyway. If you haven't, shame on you.
yeah, yeah,
The morphed people in the cave later on,
yeah.
that's something really really fun to put together because it was reminiscent of the thing.
Yeah, well, I think like listening to Shanks, the director, he's kind of taken a little bit of all the stuff that he loves as a child and grew up watching. So I think there's a little bit of that too, a little bit of an ode to the thing, and other horror films of that nature. Um, so yeah, so I think funny enough, it is kind of similar. If I was to put it in a sense for Together and the thing, even though Together is a great film, you can't compare it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's nowhere near it. So, but yeah, I think yeah, there's a little bit of similarity there. Like even with the hikers, as you said, the face stretch. Yeah, and you're always going to be compared to the ones before you. So you know, the thing was shot differently. Back in those days, it was just like, let's just see all the effects and its glory and hang on it for seconds. Like, we get microseconds,
Yeah.
like these days we built all this stuff, and then if you're lucky, you get more than a second on screen. So you've got to hit your mark when you can. And as much as I'd love, them to kind of shoot a bit more of the hiker scene and dote on it, um, they don't. So, but that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool because then people want more.
Yeah.
When you give people too much, then they they start getting spoiled. So I kind of like that. I kind of like that. People, oh, dude, that should have been more. That should have been. We should have seen more of that.
Yeah.
Brody's one of those guys. So,
Oh yeah, he is as well. You have known
yeah,
Brody for a very long time. Like you saying about how you get to put all this time to things that you
yeah.
only get
Sorry.
to see for a very short amount of time. Is the torso that you made of James? Oh, sorry,
Mm.
James Dave. Oh my god, I'm going to edit that. Is the torso you made of Dave Franco? You would have put so much time into that for it to be seen for like probably not even what 2 seconds all up before it was swapped over for
I
him.
think it was less than yeah. And that sometimes comes down to the edit. That comes
Yeah,
down to post. You shoot the hell out of everything, and I try and cover my bases just in case. Sometimes directors, being first time director too, but sometimes directors in Australia don't understand the prosthetic nature and what we can achieve and what we can't. So I try and give both angles. So I try and cover bases. So we decided to go with having Dave having the vacuum form teeth. So I made a cast of his teeth. We made these like clear plastic Visalign back form teeth, that shells that just stick into his mouth. And we glued all his hair to it. And so he was able to act, and we get most of the performance from that way. And nothing beats the real person.
yeah,
So we had that idea. And then I said to them, well, look, it would be freaking cool to have the hair going down, and to how do we show Dave like he's got it in his mouth, but how do we make it look like he's choking on her hair?
yeah,
So I said, well, how about we put a neck piece on, and we go back to like putting bladders underneath the neck, and we can throb it and have the skin kind of like move, so it looks like while he's choking, when you edit it all together, it looks like he's choking on it, and then we said, well, we've got the mouth, we've got the head of Dave. If we pull the hair from the neck, then it goes down his throat. So you might just get a moment of the camera moving, and you start to see the hair going into the mouth, or we can pull it out the other way. So you've got both options. So we're covering our bases a little bit,
yeah,
and not really knowing, because directors will just change their mind. But if you like, today's a good day, but then 3 months' time when they're editing, they might come up with another idea. So if we've got all this stuff there, then they can change it around. And if you've ever watched movies like Psycho, they talk about how in the movie, he was struggling with Psycho, and it wasn't
mhm,
until his wife came in, they started editing a different way, and they came up with the cool ideas. So I always try like to give a few little, cover all those bases to help with that process. And funny enough, it was only 1 second, but that 1 second shocks a lot of people, I suppose. It doesn't take much.
It does shock everyone, but did it shock you when Michael said he wanted to keep that?
Yeah, well, I can't remember, but I don't think he knew.
Oh,
So it was Mike Carl. Yeah, so Mike came up to me and said, "Oh, what's going on with these?" I said, "Well, usually I keep them," and he says, "Well, do you think what can we give Shanks? And I said, well, we can give him Dave. And he goes, oh, really? I said, yeah, yeah. So I think it's sometimes important, just to it's his first one. He's probably got many to come. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it sits on his wall with pride. It'd be collecting dust in my workshop. So yeah. So I think it's quite cool.
No, it's actually a really cool idea. I'm just imagining him going past his office, his door's open, but the lights are off, and he's just like, "What? Okay, yeah." It's just Dave.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. It's a cool prop to have.
So
I'd rather Alison, to be honest with you, but so
you know what? I'd rather Allison. That's why when I got Dave, not Dave, sorry, I got Michael to actually sign this at Nova for his screening. He said, "Where do you want me to
oh
sign it?"
yeah,
I said, "Go on Allison's face," and I was like, "Oh God, I shouldn't have said that." Actually, no, she'd find it funny. I may have been a little calf cut at the time when I said it, but I probably would have said it regardless of even if I was sober.
yeah, do it.
But
The world is woke, and
yeah,
we are awake.
yeah, exactly. If Allison asked, I'd let her. But yeah, apart from doing that, you actually had to basically stick these two together. For how
Mm.
long did you have these two tethered together where they had to go to the
Look,
bathroom together?
yeah. There was a tricky day. Look, the shoot was quick. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like it was so when you come up with all these ideas, it's this and that, and then the grown-ups come in and they spoil it. Okay, and that's a fact. They spoil it. So you got every department, then you got ADs going, well, we can't do this because of that, and this and that, and it just goes around the big circle, justifying their job sometimes, but that's what happens. And so, and I'm not being rude or anything like that, but you have all these grand ideas, but this film was unique because there wasn't much cast. It's just those two really,
yeah,
apart from a few other scenes. So they can't be in the makeup room, just getting 4 hours or 5 hours of makeup
yeah,
every day. We can do it one day, but not every day. And then it's just going to cost too much money. So we had to think cleverly. So they all come back with, oh, look, we can't do this, we can't do that. And so yeah, sure, of course. So we just got one day, and I think it was like 2 hours or something like that. It was pretty quick. It was like 2 hours to put it on, or an hour and a half. I can't remember. It wasn't long. It was just the arm with that famous saw scene,
yeah,
and yeah, and basically, but they had to stay together all day, and they had a ball. They found it quite funny. They're sweet people. They really are. If you actually spoke to them, you would honestly think they're just normal. You wouldn't even know that they're celebrities. That's how down to earth they are. They've got a good sense of humour, and yeah, I couldn't speak more highly of them. So yeah, so they're only there one day together.
yeah. Because when I went to the screening,
Mm.
Michael did do a Q&A afterwards with one of the producers. And just the way he
Mm.
spoke about them, about how they were on Zoom, the first time Dave read it, he's like, Alison wants to get involved. Do you want to chat to her? And they just seemed like they were so lovely. And
Yeah,
they kind of, I want to be friends with them. I've always wanted to be friends with Alison. Just, I loved her on Community. So I'm kind of jealous that you got to kind of
yeah.
spend this time with her as well.
Yeah, no. I look, no, she's fantastic, and she's more beautiful in real life. And Dave is really sweet. They're both really good. And as you said, you can just tell them what you want. You don't have to hide anything. You have to watch what you say. Yeah, they're cool. They really are cool. So that they were really, and I think they are producers. So they were all in for it too. So they knew what we were doing, and and they knew the genre, and they knew what this was going to do. I think they could all see it. They could all see it that this was going to be a quite successful film. They weren't saying, I don't think they were thinking, oh, I hope it is. I think they knew because it just read well. Just got good vibes all over it. So yeah, and then I was coming in quite eager and saying, because I could see it too, and so I wanted to give more, even though the budget didn't allow for it. So a lot of the stuff that's on screen, what we actually did, we weren't getting paid for a lot of the stuff. We were getting paid, but it wasn't. We were adding extras just to try and give that texture and give it a bigger feel.
Yeah.
So they knew that.
Yeah.
That's why you've seen that viral video. They talk and they mention me in that because they knew I went well beyond. Yeah.
Because there's even like the scene, even though it's in the background a little bit muffled, you actually see that one of Damien, we're having the kind of the demorph after
Mm.
Damien reveals himself a little bit. And I'm thinking
Yeah.
that would have been like what 5 to 8 hours of makeup for you to slightly see it, but it was still effective enough. That much detail.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it was sad because I believe someone said that one of the producers, American one, got a bit worried that it would push the audience in a different way and understanding and get confusing. I don't think so. I think they missed out on a good opportunity there, just to cut his close-ups because you have to really look because it's in the distance, as you said. And
Yeah.
if they just had kept it, then because some people don't even realize that Damon's character is him and his partner together.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's them together. So they're morphed into what Damon looks like now. So it's kind of like that would have really just hammered home to the audience. I think it would have helped the ending a little bit better too. So understanding, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So I think they missed out on that. And it's a fucking cool makeup,
Yeah.
you know, fucking cool makeup. Like, we did that. That's one of the extras we did. They didn't have any money. We did that. I got one of the guys, Julian, who's in my workshop, and I gave him the task, and he was keen to kind of create it, and he did a fucking awesome job. So, and it was such a cool makeup, and like just so many people, have seen that picture since and seen what it. Oh my god, why wasn't that featured?
Yeah, I was looking at some more pictures of it, I think just only yesterday. And when I
Yeah,
actually got to see that close up of him, like, oh, that would have been so cool to see it closer.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it's a shame.
I've
And
got,
also
I've
because
got,
Damien's just awesome in general.
Yeah, he is. He's really straight. I've worked with him a few times now, and what you see is what you get. And I kind of just look at him and go, geez, like he could walk down the street and not many people would realize who he was, but he's in such iconic films and TV shows
Mm-hmm.
from around the world, especially America and stuff. And I look at him now and I just think of Charlie Manson.
Yes.
So he played. So he's such a good character and good character face.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as he was on board too, like I'd already started, and then all of a sudden they'd cast him, and I was super excited. So knew that he really takes the role when it comes to prosthetics and stuff.
Yeah.
And the day afterwards, once we finished that scene, he 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 walked off to the car to go back to set to get it cleaned up, and I got in the back, and he'd already ripped his face off, like he just
Oh,
wanted out of it. So I've got a picture of him in the car. I should post it because it's quite funny. Like it looks crazy. He's in the front seat looking
get
back
it
at me.
off.
Yeah, yeah. So he's a veteran, so he knew he could do it. And
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it was good.
Another thing I'm quite curious about, because with your studio Scare Crew, how do you guys get hired for jobs? Do
Yeah.
they base it off something they've seen you previously do, or do you need to make something that you think that they'll want to pick you for the project?
Oh, look, it all depends. For so many years I begged. No one would give me a go, but you beg and you beg and you beg and you say, oh, I can do that, and you try, that kind of thing. So it and then even when I'm busy, I'm still doing that. You know what I mean? Sometimes, so like I've got an agent, she finds us work. So, but yeah, word of mouth. Word of mouth. It's basically people you do well by some, then they come back and yeah, and it's all about connection. Connection is important. If you don't have connection on the screen, you don't have a good film. You haven't got the right ingredients, and it's the same in life,
Yeah.
and it's also the same in business. I think it's number one. So just because those people don't have much money doesn't mean you don't put your heart and soul into it. And it's the same with the big ones too. When you've got money, so it's a matter of just try and do the best you can, and hopefully people see that, and especially the people you're working for, and then they come back to you. So it's still me seeing stuff that's coming into the, say, town, and I'll try and get that job. I want that job, and I'll try and get that job. And it could be just a quick chat with them, could be an email, or it could even be like years and years ago. We'll go. I won't say who, but you know the person, very big in the horror genre and in Australia, and he was pitching a movie, and I knew that I knew it was a cool. It hasn't been made, and I think it will be, but we're going back 8 years ago, and I said, well, how am I gonna? It may not have been 8 years ago, but it was a long time ago, and I said, so how are we going to try and win this bid?
Mm-hmm.
So I just came up with this idea. So we designed a zombie character that was in the script, and it was a unique zombie character. And we designed that, and we 3D printed it as a little maquette. And we thought, so we'll go outside the box a little bit, and maybe do a little present as such, and that to woo him, and it kind of works, because it shows you care. You show. It's not all about the dollar. The dollar comes later.
Yeah. Because I think one of the first things I think I read you try to get into was Queen of the Damned when it came to Melbourne, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was my first. Yeah.
It was your first.
It was only a few days. Yeah, it was my first. That was so naive. I was only 20, 21 or something like that. So, I had no idea. I've got a little bit more of an idea, but not much. But I remember then reading in the newspaper this movie's coming to town. So I wrote a letter. I don't even know who I sent it to. I really don't even remember who I sent this letter to. And a month later, on my job at the time, I get this phone call. It would have been 4 or 5 months later, and asking if I want the job, do some days, like just additional days.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I'll do it. And I remember it clearly. I remember the lady's name too. It's quite bizarre because it was like a turning point. Like for me, it was like, it was like the best day ever. You know what I mean? Like it's my first, dream come true since 10 years of age. I'm 21, getting an offer. So I said, yeah, I'll do it. And I think she said like Sue Mackay, and she said, I was $400, okay? I said, I'll do it for free. I don't care. And she started to laugh on the phone, and I said, why? And she goes, no, don't you ever say that again. And I said, yeah, no, but I will. And she goes, I know, but don't, just stop.
Yes.
So okay, no worries. And then they kind of gave me a few days, and then they gave me a few more, and then I walked away thinking that the phone was going to call, and it never did. I was too nervous, too shy. I was quite shy, quite reserved, and I just thought the world was going to come to me, not realizing that doesn't happen that way. So it was a good learning curve first, but it was also a learning curve.
Very good learning curve. And you say you only know a little bit more now. You've worked on Mad Max movies, dude. You know a lot. Come on.
Yeah. No, just being half serious. But we get to do some cool things. Like, so and like it's good. It's good in when you sometimes it is good when you're working on jobs. It is great, but they are sometimes very hard. You haven't got time. You got to take yourself away from being a nerd, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that.
You can be a nerd, be kind of like romanced of it all, but there's no romance in it. It's business. Like, I mean, if I tried to tell you and your listeners, the day-to-day jobs that everyone has, and I sit there and I try and romance it for you guys, you'd laugh at me, going, fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, but it's the same. You know what I mean? It's the same here. Like, before I came on, I'm welding. I've been grinding and welding for days, and I'm doing a body, but I'm just welding a skeleton together for this dummy, and it's not pleasant. I like it, but it's not pleasant, and steel splinters, and it's just shit everywhere, and then we're doing casts of actors, so that's nice, but then when you're busy, it gets a little bit kind of hard too. So there's nothing romance about it, but then when you finish it and you see the hype, or you see it come to the movies, or then you feel, oh my god, something special. Yeah, but it's quite funny. You don't really feel it as you're doing it. Very rare. When I did bring her back, I knew that was something.
Do you like doing the prosthetic stuff over doing the makeup stuff? Did you start when you were a kid doing makeup, say making bruises for yourself? Because I've done that.
Yeah,
But it was with stupid shimmery eyeshadows that kind of gave it away that they weren't bruises. But yeah, was it the makeup that you liked doing or
that's
the
okay.
prosthetics?
Prosthetics. Yeah, no,
Prosthetics.
because I was tormented. My family, my mum was English or is English, and some her sister and brother, they're all around the same age, so quite young parents, and they used to just let myself and my cousins all watch horror films, and my uncle was a little bit worse, and he was like, we would watch The Exorcist at 7 at his place with my cousin, and then he'd do some, then he'd ransack the whole house at night after we watched it, and then tell us to go hide, not allowed to turn the lights off, we'll go hide, and then he would come looking for us, try to scare us. And we were like 6, 5, 6, 7, and then we'll just watch it like an exorcist, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? Like we're shooting ourselves hiding under the bed, and you could hear him come down the hallway screaming, "Arr!" That or you'd take a half an hour to, you'd just sneak and take half an hour to find you and then grab you. And then you're screaming and carrying on, and then it's time for bed. He's going to sleep.
You can sleep.
Yeah,
Oh,
in American
God.
Way from London, watching American Way from London, the same thing. It was just so I was terrified. So the I think it's therapy. I think looking back, I think what I do now is therapy. It was just my way of dealing with it as a child. I saw a video, and a lot of your fans, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's called Screen Greats, Tom Savini.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I saw that. And so family friends came over. I was 10. My cousin was looking after me. So they went out for dinner, my parents went. And so they said, hey, watch this movie. So we watched this documentary, and I spun out. It was like the greatest thing I'd ever seen. But it also, Tom Savini was such a charismatic dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I just instantly fell in love. I just thought, this guy, I want to be this guy. And but it also kind of took the fear away, and I realized it wasn't real. And I just wanted to, and it was just like the ultimate magic trick. I still love magic tricks now. Still, when I watch, the magicians on TV and stuff like that, I don't want to know the answers. I don't want to know how they do it, because I think it just spoils the magic. So, so I just started kind of wanting to do all that stuff. And I remember stealing stuff from my dad's garage, these tools and silicon even. I remember silicon, which was never used really back then, but I was trying to find anything that I could make look like a wound, or, I remember buying knives and cutting them down and having them sticking out of, on a strap, so it looked like I stabbed myself, that kind of stuff, just kid stuff.
Just
So
knives,
yeah,
kid
so
stuff.
that yeah, that's right. Of course. Well, they've still got them these days in Melbourne, haven't they? But yeah, you get the drift. It was kind of like that. I remember, making my own mortician wax and Vaseline and talcum powder, mixing it together to create a putty and building up a nose, that kind of thing. So yeah,
Do
it
you
was
still
kind
have
of
some of this stuff?
yeah, good question. I do. Not here really. I've got one thing up there, but yeah, no, yes, I don't know. I've definitely got photographs and stuff. But I may have got rid of some of it because it was all falling apart.
Yeah.
You know, so sunlight wrecks it all. So it's a bit of a shame, but I don't think I do. But yeah, that's how it all started. And then my nana then bought me Tom Savini's book and would buy me makeup effects books and from the States for my birthday and stuff like that. And so that was my Bible, reading those. There was no internet. There's no real education here. And so it was just self-taught until I was a bit older, and I wrote a letter to Dick Smith.
Oh,
And yeah, and he was great. It would, just tell me what I should do and, stay in school. And if I was to finish school, then I could do his course. It was all that kind of stuff. It was really sweet. Then, writing, sending pictures of my work, and he would say it was terrible.
Oh,
You know? No, but he was
oh,
honest. He was honest, like,
at least he
he's
was
saying it
being
in such a
honest.
nice way. You're saying, yeah, you're saying such. He was still in a nice way,
Yeah,
but yeah, just but that kind of okay. That yeah, I could see it would affect some people, and
yeah.
but for me, it was kind of okay. Well, I'll prove you kind of thing, and it kind of inspired me to go harder, So it was that kind of thing. So
No,
so
that's a good way of doing it because when I was a kid, I drew something and a teacher said, "That's yuck." And then I was just like, oh. And anytime after that, I could never like what I did because I'm thinking if I hate it, other people will hate it. And if someone goes, oh, it's nice, I'm like, I don't believe you. But at least he was like,
yeah,
yeah, you know what I mean? At least he was polite about
yeah,
it. Don't go, oh, that's
yeah.
yuck.
No, no. He was brutal, but that's why he was the best. So I mean, he was the best for a reason. And Rick Baker's the same. They're the best for a reason, and they're not going to sit there kind of saying something's good if it's not.
Yeah,
You're better off not saying much. You know what I mean? And when you do get that pat on the back by those types, then it's warranted.
yeah,
So yeah, so I think it's important. So that's where it was. But yeah, Melbourne was in Australia was just well, it didn't have much, and even Australia in general, really. Sydney at that stage wasn't really doing much. Maybe The Matrix came in, and Superman around that
Star Wars.
after that. Yeah, Star Wars and stuff like that. So and they were still bringing in crews from the States and stuff. So it was pretty bland, and the people that did have the work didn't want to give it over,
Yeah.
panicking, worried about careers and stuff like that. So I get it. But yeah, so it was a bit of a lean period, really. So how can you get better if you're not getting work? And then,
True.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's hard. Yeah. So you got to just, and it's expensive to do it as a hobby. So it was tricky. It
Yeah.
takes a real dedication, real passion, and stubbornness and craziness, I think. So
With Together, because you were saying about
mm,
how you'd have all these things set up and then crews would come in and go, this won't work, this won't work. Did you find that the most challenges you had was making the effects or having someone tell you that you couldn't use them because it wouldn't work in a shot?
yeah, no, they would never do that. And it wasn't as mean as I probably made it out to be. It was just more like I don't look when I start designing or start I don't sit there saying what we can't do.
Yeah.
I just don't do it. Okay, because if I did that, then we couldn't. You can't let your imagination grow. So I kind of like to go in and go, "This, what can we do?" And we come up with these ideas, but then it's for the other people to come in and go, "No, we can't do that because it's going to take too long on set. We need the turnarounds of the actor. You've got to take all that into account. Dave and Alison, they can't be we can't do the whole 3 a.m. thing. Then that we finish late by the time we take makeup off, that wrecks their turnarounds, their
Yeah.
times to be on set the next day. So so I don't look at that. That's not for me. That's more for other departments. So I get it. It's not so bad. I've probably painted it in such a bad way, but I still have that nerd in me. I still want to see everything.
Yeah.
My job's in front of the camera. A lot of other people's is behind.
Yeah.
So I'm all for that. I want to do it for the fans because I want to see it. So that's why sometimes I do get a bit shitty about that. Being told we can't do it just because of those reasons. But that's how we get the films made on budget and that kind of thing. So I totally get it. But yeah, no, just I think I've answered it. I don't think the other parts that yeah.
Yeah. Was there ever a time when you were making something for Together where you were told, try and make this, and then you thought of making it a different way, and they ultimately were like, no, we don't like what you're doing, and you just said, trust the process for them to actually realize that they were wrong and you were right in the end? If that made sense.
Yeah, I'm probably going to get in trouble, but
I can edit this out because I feel like
I
I've
still think they
stumbled on it. I just
no,
stumbled.
well, in a different way. I think, I think in a different way. Like we designed the end transformation scene.
Yep.
So, so we had a plan, and the plan was like the hiker. would have it as a practical, and then from the practical bodysuit that Dave and Alison were in, then we could then use CG to enhance it. So it was kind of a combo. But they decided not to go that way, and they wanted to go more of a CG way, and that's fine. It came out quite well.
Mm-hmm.
Shanks has got a CG background, so they're kind of all leaning on that part and taking having to rebuild, all that movement and stuff like that took months and months in post and stuff like that, which we didn't have the time. We would have been struggling to build it in time. We would have done that, but we had it all planned out on how we would accomplish that. But they said no. So it's kind of the same. Is that answer or that question maybe spun around a little bit? I'm not sure, but that was definitely a moment there, and there was another moment which was a bit different, but the bathroom scene or the high school sex scene.
Yeah.
Shanks, he really had this idea of it, and I read the script when I was reading it, and I thought, oh, this is a bit much. And then he said, look, I just want to see it for a moment, look down the camera and see this third leg. And I said, really? Like, I'm as crash as anyone. But honestly, I'll have a laugh at it. And he thought, but that doesn't, I think it's a bit taggy, it's a bit cheesy. And I said to him, he goes, no, it'll be really good, really good. I said, really? I don't know. So we're talking about it. Anyway, he came with his girlfriend to my workshop on a Saturday one day, and that's how dedicated he was to have this penis in this movie. And I said, okay, sure. He goes, can you make it? And he, I think he may have bought a model or something. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But we didn't use it. We already had a mold of a willy from a previous job. So we made it and we put it on some shorts so Dave could wear it. And I just thought it was stupid. I thought it was really, just didn't think it was going to work. And then when I watched the movie, I just realised that my knuckles were white and I'm squinting, and he had me hook, line, and sinker. So, I thought it was one of the best scenes in the movie, actually.
This was actually something I was quite curious about, because you've made them before, as you said. You had a previous one, no names, but have you ever had an actor you've made one for go, what are you suggesting, when they've seen the model, or have they seen it and gone, thank you, I like that kind of thing? Has that ever happened? No names, but has anyone been impressed or not impressed with what you made?
Look, no, I don't think so. Like, I mean, because sometimes we palm them off to the makeup artist.
Yep.
So we make them. We just give it to the makeup team, and they hand it over to costume, and it's that kind of thing. So I don't get to really kind of do that with them too much. So, stand around all day holding a penis, you know what I mean? It's not for me. So it's, I don't know. I'm sure they would have been happy with this one because it was big. So.
Well, this has been a great episode. This has been a lot of fun. How would you like to join us next week? And let's talk about Bring Her Back. Another one of my favorites for this year.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to do that, I'll be up for that.
Perfect. I will leave you with one more question before we say goodbye to everyone. This is another one from Brody. Yeah. Brody would like to know, is there actually any film you regret the opportunity to not work on?
Yeah.
I don't want to end this on a sad note. I hope it doesn't open a wound or anything. I don't want to end it on
without a shadow of a doubt. I was going through the film with the boys, but it was Talk to Me.
Oh.
So I was doing Talk to Me, and through COVID, so Danny and myself, conceptual guy who I use, Seth, would have Zooms because of COVID. And I was really impressed. I'd worked with the boys years ago when they were actors in Adelaide, and did a little job with them with prosthetics and stuff in the past. So when they came to me and asked me, I was like, ecstatic, because I read the script and I just knew straight away. I just knew it was. I didn't realize it was going to make that much money, but I knew it was at least $100 million for whoever was going to take him on. So it was such a cool thing. So yeah, we started, and I was really impressed by Danny's, just his research and his work ethic. He just had this world that just blew my mind, like more so than most directors, to be honest with you. So he just knew all these ghosts and their history. You don't see it in the movie. You don't see that, but you need to have that in order to make it believable.
Yeah.
So I was really intrigued and impressed. So the first thing well, the first thing and only thing we really did after we had all these meetings and just going through ideas and stuff, was, the hand. So we had to come up with the hand thing. So Seth and myself we were behind once we got off the phone, we'd do our meetings and talk, and we had to come up with a storyline. So the story to the hand is, it was like a clairvoyant at a theme park, like in America.
Yeah.
Fortune teller in the tent, and there was a mannequin out the front to kind of attract people. So that was our idea, and then somewhere along the line there was a body entombed in that mannequin, but no one would know that. And then one day kids stole the hand, and that's how took the hand, and that was our way of coming up with the hand. And then we started putting I can't remember where the wording came, but then Seth started doing the wording, and we just kind of worked it from there. So we were kind of bouncing off each other. Seth then presented the hand. They probably did a few changes, but while he was doing that, pretty much after we kind of did that, it came to me that because I was supposed to do Talk to Me, then go on to do Furiosa. Well, Furiosa kind of all of a sudden was ready, and so I had to choose, and so I picked Furiosa, which it was great. I had an absolute ball and so forth. But I do wish that I could have been a part of Talk to Me, just because it was such cool, and it was real energy that I've never seen before. Mm-hmm. Those guys, and also just artists, like real artists. He's on a different level. So I think he's one in a million. I think he's. People see the yo. They see all that with Danny, but he's more than that. He's got something. So when they offered me the second one, that was really cool, and I knew I couldn't let him down. So thank God I didn't. But little bastards made it hard for me, I tell you. But it was.
Then that's great. Well, we'll hear all about it next week. You can tell us all about working on Bring Her Back.
All right, thank you. I look forward to it.
Well, thank you everyone for watching. Like and subscribe, do all those good things, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.